Hello Matthew, thank you for inviting HQLAx down to the Goldman Sachs London offices today.
My pleasure, and thank you for interviewing me.
And we'll dive straight in. We are lucky to have Goldman Sachs being a key partner to what we at HQLAx have been doing over the past couple of years. But I wondered if you could tell me what the current digital strategy at Goldman Sachs is and any initiatives that you're particularly excited about.
Yeah, on the digital asset side, I would say I'll just focus on that rather than the broad digital strategy. From a digital asset perspective, there are quite a few things that we're kind of focused on. And I guess it kind of morphs itself into three kind of key buckets. And taking a slight step back, I took over this team 2.5 years ago, and we've just seen huge progress. Obviously, the team has grown, both across the business and the engineering side, which does enable us to kind of really, seize many of the commercial opportunities we see across the market. But on the kind of client-facing side, there's kind of real two key components. One is the crypto business, which naturally kind of dominates and gets a huge amount of headlines. And there's an awful lot that we've done across the trading, kind of the content, and even the lending space just recently. And then on the other side of the ledger is kind of digitizing the life cycle, which I think resonates today, where we're actually working on a number of different projects to both digitize kind of financial instruments that are native to the blockchain, tokenizing assets, and thinking about digitizing kind of derivatives, collateralizing them through kind of digital tokens and the like. So there's kind of a lot there that we're doing with our clients. Next part of the business is really taking an internal lens to the technology and seeing how we can really transform what we do within Goldman Sachs, naturally working with the market. And this is where HQLAx will play a big part as we think about how we can transform repo, securities finance, even the intraday repo. Digital money kind of features in that part of the business too, because a critical part of really kind of delivering the whole package on chain. And then the final part of the business really looks at kind of investing for growth. So I guess there's two key things there. One is working with kind of our growth equity team and our firm-wide strategy, identifying opportunities to invest in companies to really expedite our strategic objectives. And investing in HQLAx is obviously a good example of that. And then also as we start to think about kind of how this technology is evolving and whilst the regulations don't necessarily give us that ability to kind of play today, it's really making sure that as we think about things like DeFi, Web 3.0, the metaverse, NFTs, educating the kind of the team so that we are well positioned to move forward as and when, the regulatory backdrop allows us to.
Okay. So following on from that, in order to reap tangible and scalable benefits from the digital market infrastructure solutions, what are the important aspects that the industry should be focused on right now?
Yeah, I guess probably three key things in my mind. First and foremost, there has to be commercial drivers, right? And I think it's kind of incumbent, on those that really do kind of focus on digital assets to showcase the benefits. And, we've talked about this probably kind of ad nauseum, but kind of enhanced functionality. You look at the kind of operational, the economic efficiencies of using this technology, and then just the precision with which you can really operate from a settlement perspective. So I think that's kind of one key area. The second is, kind of continued advocacy with the regulators. We've seen huge kind of progress over the last 2 years, but I think it's really important that kind of institutions continue to advocate, because ultimately what we need is a backdrop that really kind of fosters innovation and investment, and that's really when we'll start to see kind of continued kind of progress. And then the third is kind of digital currency. As we talked about, there's a lot we're doing on the asset side, but I think getting a digital currency that is fit for purpose, that's ubiquitous, I think is going to be key as well. And there are many different flavors of that, but I think that's a key kind of focus of ours.
Yeah, okay. So we're seeing now the implementation of digital ledger technology, but maybe moving into the midterm, what are the important initiatives that we should be following so that we can start to see broader market adoption?
Yeah, I think you've got the foundational layer there. And I think it's kind of, at the moment, we're so kind of early, kind of, in the cycle. So I think what's really important is pushing forward with the right projects. So as more and more entities, or institutions, should I say, kind of invest in this space, it's making sure that, we are focused on projects that, going back to my earlier point, really have a commercial driver behind them. And then making sure that the technology, is ready to implement. And so it's kind of what got me into this business, to be honest, in the first place, spending a lot of time seeing how blockchain technology could be applied. There's many years people talking about blockchain this, blockchain that, but it's only been over the last few years where it really is in a position to be, using the term enterprise ready. And so I think once you've kind of got, that ability to kind of A, showcase and actually deliver commercial outcomes, and B, show that the technology is ready, I think then then, you start to see the projects emerge. And so, from my perspective, I think, the whole tokenization is hugely important. And I think you're going to start to see the emergence of a lot of projects this year, which, I think can manifest itself in slightly different ways. But one, as you tokenize financial kind of assets, that interplays quite nicely with what HQLAx are doing. As you think about securities finance, repo, even collateralizing derivatives, we're working on a number of projects, for example, where we're looking to digitize derivatives. The second area I think is important is tokenizing real assets. Just using an example, kind of loans or say real estate. And there, I think as you think about the context of midterm, you think about fractionalization, the programmability of the technology, and that suddenly starts to really introduce a new cohort of kind of investors. So again, that I think is really important. And then going back to the digital currency point, we're starting to see a huge amount of progress, but I think that will just continue at speed. But all of that is predicated on the regulatory kind of backdrop. But I do think, what we're seeing across the world in terms of proposed regulations, you can see now digital assets is being legitimized. It's now just making sure that as it evolves, that it fosters and really allows us to kind of expedite what I just mentioned.
Right, okay. Well, it's been a pleasure to speak to you today, Matthew, and thank you for inviting us over.
My pleasure. Good talking to you too. Thank you.